So far, we've looked at the pledge, which is the sacred object, the object that promises us wholeness, completeness, certainty, and satisfaction. We've then looked at the turn, which is the disappearance of this object from our lives, the nihilistic core of Christianity. And now we come to the prestige. And the prestige is the return of what was lost. But if you remember the initial trick, the coin that returns is not the coin that disappeared. They look the same, but they're slightly different. So in the same way, the sacred is going to return to us, but in a slightly different guise. Originally, the sacred object is something that we love. Now we discover the sacred, not as an object that we love, but rather as a depth dimension within reality that we discover through the act of love itself. You see, the sacred object has three elements. It exists, as in it stands out. It's the thing that stands out in our lives more than anything else, until we get it. And then we realize that it doesn't exist. We're left with the fossilized remains of something that never was. The sacred object also strikes us as sublime, the thing that we want that looks so beautiful, until we get it. And then we realize that it's actually rather mundane. And finally, the sacred object is meaningful until we get it and we realize that it doesn't bring the meaning that it promised. In contrast, love is not something that exists. You can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't touch it, but you can give yourself to love. Love calls things into existence. When we're walking around, we see people, but they blend into the background. They're a type of function that we use in order to buy products, in order to get meals, in order to get through our day. But when we see someone that we love, they stand out as a singular individual. I had a friend who was on a train from Connecticut to New York, and the conductor was going down the train, and she'd forgotten her wallet and she didn't have a ticket. And she says, "Listen, I'm so sorry. Don't have any money, I don't have a ticket, I feel really bad." And this guy obviously saw that she was anxious. And so he said, "Listen, love, don't worry about it. Just calm down, forget it." And they started to talk. And for a while they talked, they shared pictures of their kids, and then he moved on down the train. And at the end of the journey, when she was getting off, she said to him, "Listen, just want to say thanks." And he said to her, "Listen, don't worry about it. It's just lovely to be seen." You see, the conductor is seen by thousands of people every day. He's constantly under surveillance, but only as someone who gives tickets to people. He felt that he was seen as a singular individual by my friend. So love calls things out. Secondly, love is not sublime. Love is not beautiful. It doesn't say, "Look at me." Love is what points to something else and says, "Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?" And thirdly, love is not meaningful. Love is what renders the world meaningful. If you believe that the world has meaning, but you do not love, you can't help but experience the world as meaningless. And if you believe the world and the universe is utterly meaningless, but you love, you can't help but experience it as profoundly meaningful. Eating isn't just getting fuel into your body. It's about having communion with others. Walking isn't just about getting from A to B. It's about experiencing nature. Life becomes animated. The funny thing is, love doesn't exist. It's not sublime and it's not meaningful until you stop treating it as an object and give yourself to it. And then it appears as the most existent, sublime, and meaningful of all things. So this can help us understand what religious experience is. Religious experience is not the experience of something. It's that which transforms your experience of everything. It's not like I'm walking around the world having had 9 experiences, and then the religious experience is a 10th experience of something. Rather, everything that I've experienced is transformed. It's like life. You don't experience your life. Life is what enables you to experience. And so what we're talking about here is a type of transformation from an object that we are frantically pursuing to make us whole and complete, to the embrace of the struggle of life and finding enjoyment in it. This is what we see in communion. Communion has these 3 elements of the magic trick. First, you have the pledge. And the pledge is the bread and the wine, which is the body and blood of God. It's the sacred object that you can taste, you can touch, you can see. Then you have the turn, which is the disappearance of the bread and the wine in the body of everyone gathered. And then you have the prestige. And the prestige is when you get up and you start to talk to the people around you. And you see that someone's lost their job, and you start to offer them some help. You lend them some money. Or someone has just had a child, and so you cook a meal and bring it round. You look at the problems that are in your wider society and you start to address them. This is the prestige. This is the return of the sacred in the act of love and commitment to one another. This is where depth and meaning and joy is to be found.